Begin with the Las Vegas Raiders right out of the gate. Very, very interesting offseason for Las Vegas. Antonio Pierce promoted from interim to permanent head coach. Gardner Minshew is in to stay with now the second-year guy, Aiden O'Connell, who ended up starting the majority of the games for the Las Vegas Raiders a year ago. Josh Jacobs is no longer there. Alexander Madison brought in to complement Zamir White in that backfield. A few moves on the offensive line, including bringing Cody Whitehair in from Chicago as Eller Munor ends up going to the Giants as one of the few off-season moves that New York made. More so than anything for this Raider team, Alex White, and you can kind of see it on the right here on the screen. Devante Adams, who last year was one of the 5 short shots going into the year for Offensive Player of the Year, is all the way down to 60-1. Market's kind of telling on itself of what they think of either Devante Adams at this part of his career or the expected quarterback play of the Raiders. I would lean towards the second one, where if it's O'Connell or Minshew, average to mediocre to potentially bad quarterback play. And the market's telling you Maxx Crosby is going to have a huge year, or at least the expectation is. And I agree with that 100%. If the Raiders are going to be being here in Las Vegas, you hear a lot of Raider media that is convinced that they are capable of pushing for the postseason this year. If they are going to have a shot of doing that, Maxx Crosby has to be one of the 3 best defensive players in the league, maybe even the number 1 defensive player in the league. There are enough guys on that defensive line with the addition of Christian Wilkinson. They paid him a lot of money, over $100 million to come over from the Dolphins. The key to the Raiders' success is going to be Maxx Crosby in that pass rush. If they are not elite, this could be a long season for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Going back to Devante Adams, starting with that one, as you mentioned, I think another thing to add to that is just how they have used him, and they really go to Jacoby Myers more. And I don't know if that is where Aiden O'Connell was comfortable, but I think that has an effect on his number here being so high. So maybe if Minshew does get to start, maybe we'll see more Devante Adams and they utilize him better, because I think that was one of their biggest problems offensively last year is they didn't know how to use him. I know Josh Jacobs is a phenomenal running back, led the league in rushing yards just 2 years ago, but I don't think it's a huge drop-off. I think Zamir White did very good last year. As you mentioned, Madison is brought in to complement him. So on that angle, I don't hate that number at all, taking a shot with Adams. I don't think he is over his prime just yet. I think he has a few more good years. In regards to Maxx Crosby, I completely agree that their defense has to be their main stable point, and we saw it last year. They really won them a lot of games. And then we'll get more into the coaching staff because, as you mentioned, Antonio Pierce, so that can go one of 2 ways. We're hoping that he continues. He led the team 3-1 in their last 4 games. They're hoping to build off of that. It seems like the locker room is all behind him. But they bring in Luke Getsky from the Chicago Bears as well, who did not have great numbers with the Bears. 2022 finished 28th in total offense, dead last in passing, and then 2023 improved to 20th in total offense. So that's the unit that they really need to improve on, and we'll see what happens there. That's the most question marks.
Of course, Brock Bowers also drafted by this team as well. He'll be the number 1 tight end. They actually have a good tight end combination with him and Michael Mayer now as their 1-2 tight ends. I think that could be utilized as well, as Ryan McCormick knows, and also our guest in a few minutes, Danny Burke, knows. Luke Getsy was not, as you said, those numbers might have even been polite. At least these past year numbers might have even been polite to Getsy, with the way that Bears fans were very pleased when there was a change at offensive coordinator coming into this year. Real quick on the win total and the schedule here ahead for the Raiders. So 7's the win total. I think that's spot on. I think that's right where it should be. Kind of just it tells you that the bookmakers don't really like this team if it's juiced to the under, or let me rephrase that. And the bettors have agreed with that as well, because there were some 7.5s in the market at the beginning here on the Raiders. Ignore the odds to win the AFC. That's just a liability thing more so than anything. Same with the odds to win it all on the Raiders here behind us. Alex, I think it's very simple with this team. More so than any other team in the league. where I just watched multiple years of the Jets trying to win with a great defense and horrible quarterback play. 2 straight years of that.
That's true. You did.
This Raider team is taking the mantle now, where I really do think that this defense has the potential to be a top 5 defense. They have the pieces. You have Crosby, obviously, one of the elites of the elite pass rush. Christian Wilkins, to me, is a top 3 defensive tackle. If Robert Spillane plays like he did a year ago, where he really took a leap, you got a really good interior linebacker in Spillane. There are some questions about their secondary. Is the Jack Jones we saw come over from New England midseason really the Jack Jones that we're going to get for Vegas? Or is it still really the guy who we saw in New England? How much does Nate Hobbs have left in the tank? How are those safeties and Morag and Epps, are they going to perform at a level that is needed in that secondary? But there are enough guys on this roster, and look, they kept Patrick Graham, which is a big deal because there was a lot of rumblings that Graham was going to go to the Giants, go back to the Giants, replace Wink Martindale, who they split up. Martindale now with the University of Michigan is their defensive coordinator. I think the Raider defense is going to be really, really good, but I think they're going to struggle to score. This reminds me of a team like the Jets the last 2 years that went 7-10 both of those years. 7-10, 6-11 feels right for the Raiders. I don't think they get enough offense to perform, even with a schedule that pretty straight up average, more so than anything, really doesn't stand out either direction.
So finished last year 8-9, so that is anticipating a little bit of a drop off. I think that says more about the Chargers improving, and so depending on how you feel and where you are with the Chargers and what kind of step they are going to take this year, that would lead you if you like the over, the 7, or the under. But I would lean more towards the over, to be honest. I do think that they could squeeze 8 wins out and maybe just land on a push, worst case scenario.
Yeah, we're going to learn quickly. Week 1 against the Chargers, we're going to learn a lot about both of those teams right out of the gate. 2 winnable home games, week 3, week 4 with Carolina and Cleveland. Denver's winnable week 5 on the road. But again, they're not going to find that many games they're favored in again. This is kind of the issue with a bunch of these teams where they're going to be dogs the first 2 weeks. They'll be favored against Carolina. I'd make them a small home dog against Cleveland.
Agree.
Denver, we'll see what Denver is at that point. That could go either way. Pittsburgh should be favored here. The Bronco home game, and that's pretty much it guaranteed to be favored in. So it's just 3, maybe 4, 5 at most are definitely favored in here in this season. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Parles.
And I'm Alex White. Thank you for watching this clip of Sports by the Book. Please like the video, comment, and subscribe.
We live stream the show right here every day on this channel. Also, you can catch the podcast version on your favorite podcast platform.
All the links are in the description below. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.